So this is the position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I think, sorry it's a bit wordy, but I thought it's really important to state this. Appropriately planned, okay, they use the word appropriately planned. And sometimes this irks me a little bit because every diet needs to be appropriately planned. You know, you can have a non-vegetarian diet. If you don't appropriately plan that diet, then you can be eating from McDonald's and eating French fries or, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it's not going to be healthy.
Hey guys, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at HighCarbHealth, and also click on the green H so you get to see exactly what I eat and what I get up to every single day. Don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also please make sure you hit the bell icon so that you get all our notifications for our video uploads.
Welcome everyone, my name's Shukul and I run a health and nutrition consultancy called High Carb Health. And what we do is we try to help people with their nutrition, but also their digestive health, and we're really trying to work on getting people to eat in a way that can reduce their reliance on medications and try and prevent and reverse disease. So what I want to talk to you today about is raising children on a plant-based diet. So this is the position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I think, sorry it's a bit wordy, but I thought it's really important to state this. Appropriately planned, okay, they use the word appropriately planned. And sometimes this irks me a little bit because every diet needs to be appropriately planned. You know, you can have a non-vegetarian diet. If you don't appropriately plan that diet, then you can be eating from McDonald's and eating French fries or, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it's not going to be healthy. So every diet needs to be appropriately planned, and of course a plant-based diet should also be appropriately planned. You need to do your research into how to make sure that everyone's getting the right type of nutrition. But they say vegetarian, including vegan diets, are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits for the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. These diets are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, so that's really important. You know, it's not just if once you reach a certain age that these diets are okay. They're okay for all stages of the life cycle. So from pregnancy, conception, pregnancy, infancy, toddlerhood, childhood, adulthood, and they're also good for athletes. So basically covers the whole range. You know, every person can thrive on a plant-based diet. But they don't just stop there. They talk about the fact that vegans and vegetarians are at reduced risk of certain health conditions. So when we're looking at heart disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, certain types of cancer and obesity, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says that people on a vegetarian or vegan diet are at lower risk of these diseases. And it makes sense, and we'll talk about that more as we go through some of the research. But interesting to note when they talk about obesity, people who eat a vegan diet on average are the only group of people who have a normal BMI. So when we look at all the other types of eating, so when you've got vegetarian, pescatarian, flexitarian, and non-vegetarian, every other group on average is above a normal BMI, so either overweight or obese. Then we've got Harvard. Okay, what does Harvard have to say? Well, this is kind of talking along the lines of what we've kind of been seeing in the scientific literature over time, where when we started initially discussing vegetarianism or veganism or plant-based diets, we were looking at, okay, what are the nutritional things that we need to make sure? What are the deficiencies that are there? But now we're seeing a shift in the way this works, in that they're not just looking at nutritional deficiencies, but we're looking at confirming the health benefits of meat-free eating. So plant-based diets is recognized as not only nutritionally sufficient, but also as a way of reducing the risk for many chronic illnesses. And this is something that is not talked about a lot when we talk about plant-based diets, and that's why I wanted to really share some of this stuff with you today, in that there is such a huge benefit. In fact, not only is it nutritionally adequate, but there's actually some real serious benefits for later on in life for our kids. So benefits of a whole food plant-based diet. So just wanted to touch on cancer, especially because some of the foods that we feed our children today without knowing are class 1 carcinogens. Okay? And a class 1 carcinogen is the same type of carcinogen as smoking, asbestos, and plutonium. They're in the same category. Okay? And in 2015, the World Health Organization classified processed meats as a class 1 carcinogen. And at the same time, they classified red meats as a class 2A carcinogen. So a class 1 carcinogen is something that causes cancer, so we know that it causes cancer. And a class 2A carcinogen is something that probably causes cancer. So there's enough evidence to suggest that there is some carcinogenity with that food.
class one's like as bad as smoking.
Yeah, in the same category. Smoking, asbestos and plutonium. And alcohol.
So 2A, that's just one down.
One down from it. Yep. Okay. And probably in time, as more studies come out, they might shift that up as well. Okay. So what is a processed meat? Because most people don't understand what a processed meat is. A processed meat is any type of meat that has been transformed through either salting, curing, fermentation, smoking, or other processes to enhance flavor or improve preservation. So some of the things that I ate growing up: hot dogs, ham, sausages, corned beef, biltong, beef jerky, as well as canned meat and any meat-based preparation or sauces. These are all class 1 carcinogens. The funniest thing, well, it's not funny, but the thing that gets me sometimes is the Cancer Society has sausage sizzles for cancer prevention. Okay. And yeah, anyway, different story.
So things like ham.
Yeah, they cause colon cancer. That's proven, yeah.
Salami.
Salami, all of that, yeah, all of it. Yeah, yeah. What is a red meat? Well, we all know red meat is beef, veal, pork, lamb, mutton, horse and goat. Okay. And there's a whole lot of evidence around cancer, if I just go back, there's a whole lot of evidence around cancer which I can't talk about today, but there's studies that show that people on a plant-based diet, their blood fights cancer cells 8 times better than someone who's on a non-vegetarian diet. We've been able to show that breast cancer cells in vitro been able to kill just by dropping the blood of someone who's been on a plant-based diet by 2 weeks. It changes the whole way the body deals with cancer. So there's a whole lot of information. If you want to know more about it, I can talk to you about it later. But the reason I'm mentioning that is because a lot of the foods that we feed our kids are these easy to hand out foods like sandwiches and nuggets and pepperoni pizzas and things like that. So without knowing it or really understanding that we're setting them up for cancer as they get older. Heart disease is another one that starts in childhood and that people aren't really aware because it only really manifests as we get older. But what we've found is that fatty streak formations in the arteries can be formed in fetuses before they're born. Okay, and so the major factor for this is the amount of cholesterol the pregnant woman has in their blood. Okay, so the higher the cholesterol, the more likelihood that there is going to be a hardening of the arteries or a fatty streak formation in the arteries, which is the first stage of heart disease. Okay, and other research shows that atherosclerosis, which is heart disease, is found in 100% of kids by the age of 10. By the age of 10, unless you've been on a whole food plant-based diet, you've already got heart disease. Okay, so I would say apart from little Alia in there, the majority, and these 2 little ones here, the majority of us aren't trying to prevent heart disease, we're actually trying to reverse the heart disease we already have. Okay.
So that's if you've not eaten a plant-based diet. 100% of kids that are on meat.
Yeah, because pretty much everybody, hardly any cases of plant-based kids until more recently where we've seen more and more people taking up a plant-based diet.
But you can reverse it.
You can reverse it, yes. I'm not going to go into that today, but I can show you angiograms and things. So, how did they find this out? Well, after the Korean War, they did autopsies on soldiers that had died, and they looked at their arteries. And what they found was that 77% of these soldiers, who were of the average age of 24, had gross evidence, which is you can see it by the naked eye, of atherosclerosis. So these are very, you'd expect soldiers to be very fit and active, but 77% of them had visible fatty streak formation in their arteries. Okay, so, they say, your doctor might tell you, okay, if you're active enough, you probably won't get that's not a good way of looking at it. It's really what you put into your mouth that affects your heart and how disease forms in your arteries. And the number one risk factor that they've found for heart disease is cholesterol. Okay, you'll hear a lot of stuff about how cholesterol is not so good, bad, and not, you can eat cholesterol and eggs aren't bad and things like that. But when you actually look into the research and you look at the stuff that's not industry funded, the number one risk factor is.
This channel is about helping people who suffer from colitis. Drop me a comment below about your colitis experience and go to my website High Carb Health for more info and a free 30-minute consultation. And don't forget, there most certainly is a life after colitis.